Okay, so we are going to try and draw a token. Now this setup is a little bit awkward, so I'm going to try and do it without knocking the setup too much. So I'm kind of drawing at an angle here. Basically what I have is this document set up, and I use the same document over and over. I just duplicate the document. So let's see how big this document is. It's 1632 by 2224 pixels at 300 dpi. And basically this is double the size of a playing card, and so whatever I create, I shrink it down to the playing card. And then what I've done is I've created a trim layer here. I actually created that in Illustrator, I believe, and brought this into using Photoshop, making a Photoshop file originally. So that's how I got that trim layer. So I made a new document here, or a new layer, and I just have a pencil tool. And I don't know what, I know it's going to be a 1/1 vampire, and so I'm just going to kind of sketch out something. And this is just like it might change, but if I have something here, it'll give me something to kind of go off of, kind of like design around. So let's select this, kind of center it, and then I'll actually make a new layer just so that this sketching doesn't get in the way. So what does a 1/1 vampire look like? I don't really have any sort of, they're skinny, right? And I put on a separate layer so that I can kind of do this, right? I was playing around with like multiple joints in this last. They're kind of agile too. These vampires are agile, right? Oops. And this might change. I don't know what I'm doing here. Let's try again. I want to show multiple joints. Like, I want, like, adding an extra joint in the arm is creepy, and it just kind of adds a little. I don't want it to be like a zombie though. I want it to still be a vampire. What if I do this and then have the vampire? Oops. Am I on the wrong layer? I am on the wrong layer. I gotta go on this layer. Okay, back to this layer. Sorry, it's we want to showcase the teeth. Kind of exaggerated teeth, right? He's kind of doing this exaggerated teeth and gums, kind of gives it that style I'm going for these tokens. They have pointy ears, so let's give them some pointy ears. And really this is just like kind of like a blueprint to go off of before I do the actual drawing or the inking. Vampires have swords or something. It's kind of counterintuitive to add these extra joints, because I've been adding the correct number of joints for so long. Adding this extra joint is not intuitive, but I think it looks fun. I gotta figure out what his hand is doing here. And also what kind of clothes he's going to be wearing. Like fancy clothes? Like armor of some sort? Or is he going to be like a poor vampire? Maybe I'll do like a hand like this or something. Like he's trying to be scary sometimes. I have to look at my hand. Here, let's give it a little bit more room. I'm running out of room over here on the side. This isn't perfect, but that's kind of the fun of this style. So now I got a joint here. Joint here and a joint here. It just adds this extra kind of okay, he's gonna be a poor vampire, I've decided. He's not gonna be a noble vampire. Let's give him some clothing that's hanging off of him. We can see some of the chest meat. I think that adds kind of to the creepiness and the otherworldly. Or should we have this? I think we should be holding like some sort of weapon in this hand. Because all the vampires in the game have some sort of weapon. In the magic game. But he's poor, so we make it a poor man's weapon. what I'll do sometimes before I even do the ink, I'll get like a darker color on the same drawing layer, and then I'll start to kind of flesh out some areas that need detail a little bit more, just so that when I do start doing the illustration or the ink layer, there's no question as to what it should look like. And it probably looks like a bunch of like lines, like messy lines. But it will. It will turn into something. Okay, good enough. Okay, so it's supposed to be muscle, not shirt. At least not really muscle, but at least like skin and no, you guys can tell me if you like the extra joints. Okay, is that vampire enough? What if we take his head and we just make it a little bit bigger? Is that too big? I like that. Okay, pants, kind of like the last. After centuries of being alive, this guy can't figure out how to find clothes. He's a vampire that makes very poor decisions. Okay. All right. So now that we got this drawing done, how long has that taken me? 15 minutes. I will take down the opacity, make a new layer, and this is my brush of choice. It's from a pack called Squid Ink. I've modified one of their brushes a little bit, and it just, I love the texture and the just the style, the feel of it. So let me get the right size here. I don't want to go too big on some of these finer details. So now this brush lets me, based on pressure, go thick or thin. not sure what I want these to look like. I like these like gross looking pustules everywhere. These little hairs add to it a lot too. And then as I'm inking, I'm making more decisions on how it's actually going to look, right? So the blue lines are just like kind of a guide. And then with the ink I can make final decisions. Okay. See how that looks. Yeah, what I do is it's very graphical. I don't typically like painting, like digital painting. I mean, I've played around with it for years and stuff like that. Did I mess something up? No, I think it's okay. But I always go back to this kind of style because for me it's just more, not only is it quicker, but I think it's just more, conducive to what I like to do. So okay, let's see if we can get some ribs in here. Almost everything's gonna be covered up with tattered clothing, but I like having these like sunspots or liver spots or whatever you want to call them. Let's put the first joint in here. Folds, pustules, warts, all that kind of add to the overall aesthetic that we're going for. I hate hands. always have. Unfortunately, most creatures have them. The great thing about studying anatomy is once you've studied it, then you can have fun with it. And you can like create things that, like this isn't anatomically correct at all. But I can make it look like it is. So let's get this in. Oops. Double with 2 fingers. If you tap it, that's an undo in Procreate. So you can see there's a lot of lines that I'm ignoring as I'm doing this. So those lines I'm just searching when I'm drawing. I'm searching for what the figure looks like. Okay, sorry. This is taking longer than I thought. Okay, so let's try and add some details here for the sword, for the clothes. I don't know what style this is, if this is like comic book style or just graphical style, I don't even know. Luckily, we have run out of canvas here, so I don't have to draw everything. Alright, this is not a zombie. This is a vampire. Has seen better days. Okay, so after I've got the vampire drawn or inked, what I will do is I gotta make sure that he's all, like his outline is filled in for the way I'm painting it. And the reason, let me show you, is let's select automatic, and what I'm trying to do is select just the outside of him, and what I'm seeing is that there's some holes in certain areas. So I've got to go through and make sure these holes are filled. And what is this? This is a little line there. Because once I do that, it makes painting it so much easier and quicker. Sometimes I got a little messy in the this up a little bit. Okay, let's see what this looks like. Okay, that's pretty good. So then I will invert it. I will make a new layer right underneath the layer that I just, oops. Just gotta make sure I'm still on camera here. Okay, make a layer right underneath the ink layer. And then this is where I choose kind of just like what color the palette I'm going to start with. Now this is a vampire. Vampires, what color are they? They're black and red. So maybe I'll go with like a dark blue. And I just drag that color onto it and it fills in that. Now what I can do is I click on this layer, I go to alpha lock. And what that means is that if I take a color into paint, it will only paint where there's already color on that layer. So I'd have to turn that off if I want to add new. So what I actually just saw, I gotta get my eraser tool and erase some of these right here. These are areas that shouldn't have been filled in. Let's see if there's any other like that. Oh, and then I see this. Let's see. Okay, so what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to turn off alpha lock, grab my paintbrush, grab this color, and there's certain areas right here that need to be filled in. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's turn alpha lock back on. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually paint this in layers. Add a new layer, and I'm going to click on it and add clipping mask, and it clips anything underneath it. So let's decide what color we want his skin to be. He's dead, so I kind of like having like an ashen gray tone. Let's see what that looks like. I don't mind that. So I'm painting on a new layer, but it's being clipped by the layer underneath it. So technically, if I turned off that clipping mask, you would see, let's do this. Let's turn off the clipping mask, see how much I'm actually painting. But since I'm clipping it, it doesn't show that. So it allows me to kind of be a little bit messy. And so does this style though, if I'm honest with you. I can be a little bit loose. Okay, so we got his body painted, and let's say I want to maybe go a little bit darker. I can just click and drag into those sections and it will fill it in. I like doing like these yellow type of eyes. Oops. I kind of like using the same for like the teeth and claws. And it's not perfect, but that's part of the charm, is that if it's, you know, it's not perfect. What else? Okay. Then what I'll do, I'll take the skin color and I'll be like, okay, well now we need to add some imperfections. Like these liver spots or whatever, those are part of it. And then for a little bit of a variation in the skin color. Oops. I take another brush with this and it's kind of close. And it has a little bit of texture. Okay, so next is, let's do the eye sockets. Kind of like, oh man, that's huge. Doing this pink. And we'll do that same pink for the gums. And I like having the blue undercoating, underpainting layer showing through sometimes. So let's do this. Let's grab this color and we will do maybe a little darker color for the lips. And then where else can we add this color? Yeah, we'll see. Okay. All right, what's next? Let's do the clothing. Let's make another layer and we hit clipping mask again. So it's still clipping to the layer, to the main painted layer. What I'll like to do, opposite of blue is orange. So I'll come into this section. Let's maybe grab a brownish color. So that's in the orange world. So it's like opposite, so it kind of matches. We'll throw that in. Oops, I'm on the wrong, I knew it, I was on the wrong brush. Like this is not working like it normally does. So we'll add this. And that's fine. And then for the pants, let's leave it that color. Oh, you know what I need to do? I need to paint this. That's part of the shirt. Okay. Let's add another layer. Clipping mask. Let's do like the sword, which is a terrible gray. An old gray color with, let's do another, like it was a fancy sword at one time. It had gold. And plus, if we do gold, then it goes with the color palette of opposites. All right, so let's say this is where we're gonna go from here. Okay, let's actually quickly add some jewels. Okay. All right, so what I'll do is I'll add another layer, clipping mask, and then I will get like a dark blue. Okay. And then let's figure out where the shadow is. It's kind of, it's not really like, there's no harsh shadow anywhere. So we'll just kind of like fake it for now. And I will just start drawing in these darkness here. I have some shadow here based on the sketching. And then I'll go to the layer style. I'm going to click it to multiply. And then I'm going to take the opacity down quite a bit. Okay. So now when I paint, you can see it's adding just like a small shadow to it. And so I can be pretty loose at this point. Because it's not a very big shadow, but what it does is it adds just a little bit more depth, sorry, and a little bit more detail to the painting. What I'll do also, let's add another one, clipping mask. Now I'm going to do the same thing, okay, but this shadow is going to be smaller, so it's not going to be as much, so it'll be like it'll end up being like a layered style. So we take it down, but it's a little bit darker than the one before. So it makes it, so it gives it kind of like this layered look. And as you can tell, I can be pretty loose with this style. Sorry, I keep hitting the camera. zoom in here. Okay, so now we got some shadow in there. Let's add some highlights. So since we're in the blue color palette, I'll do the same thing. I'll go get the light color, add the clipping mask, and let's add some highlights. And you're like, oh, that looks terrible. Yes, it does. So we go to, let's change it to screen. Let's change it, let's bring it down quite a bit. And this will be the first level of highlights. And then you guessed that I will be putting another level of highlights on this. So altogether it'll be like 5 levels of color at least. And having that many levels of color makes it look like it took a lot longer than it actually did. Because you're getting a couple different levels of highlights, the main color, and then the 2 levels of shadow. So, okay, so let's add another layer. Let's go pure white this time. Clipping mask. And then let's this is kind of like the kiss, right? Like the little highlights are like the kiss of. But we don't want it that bright still. I still want it as a screen, and then we'll go down. Now he is a vampire, so maybe I could add blood to him because he loves blood. That's what vampires are known for. Also being smooth suckers, but this guy's not a smooth sucker. He doesn't know how to invest his money. Okay, background. Let's talk about background here. We'll go down here, make a new layer underneath our painted layer, and be like, okay, so these vampires are black and red oftentimes. And since red is very close to black, let's see what it looks like. I kind of like that. Or red is close to orange, is what, sorry, is what I'm saying. You can't see the trim line. That actually happens to be the same color as the trim line. Holy cow, that's crazy. That was not on purpose. Here, let's take it. There. Now you can see the trim line, possibly. I don't know what you can see on camera. Oops. Okay. So I'll put in a color, and backgrounds tend to be, depending on what it is, they tend to be pretty easy. So let's figure out what we want in the background. What if we did something like this? A rough castle of sorts, right? Like a parapet here. The backgrounds for these tokens, they're pretty rough. They're pretty. The focus is on the actual tokens, right? I'm not too worried about the backgrounds in these. So what I'll do is just kind of do like a hint of something. And then I will adjust the colors, make another layer. It's not right. Maybe there's some sort of a hint of a structure behind him, right? But it turns out to be like a monocolor thing, or it's like in the same, with this color palette's a mono. Oh no, sorry. Monochromatic color palette. Okay, now what I'll do, I have this cool brush thing that I bought, and I like adding these like halftone patterns to it. You might not be able to see it on camera, but adding these cool halftone patterns to it adds like a little bit of like some cool fun details. So I added some to the background. You may not be able to see that, but let's add some to the painting as well. Let's see if I add that in the right place. Just right there. Click mask, perfect. So I'll go through and I'll sample something and maybe go a little bit lighter, and then I'll add some halftone patterns. Just subtle halftone patterns to kind of like hint at some sort of I don't want it to take away from the whole drawing, so these are more just like very subtle, but I think it adds a fun like element to it. And I get to use the brushes that I spent money on. So okay, now let's go back to the original this layer where it says vampire. Let's make one at the very top. I think this is going to be in white. Go back down to my squid ink brush. I don't know if I want to cover up his ear, but let's see how it looks. Might not be bad. Okay, that's not bad. And then we add the power and toughness down here. Because after all, this is a token. So what I'll do is I'll duplicate this, alpha lock there, select black, and then I will color this vampire, and then I'll move it down to add a little drop shadow, because it's on alpha lock. Go over here and let's add power and toughness. And actually, I think we can erase this a little bit. Sorry, this video is a lot longer than I thought it would be. Oh, you know what I'll also do sometime? What I'll do is I'll go to the just above the background layer, and I will add an outline, kind of to help. Not only does it separate it from the background, but it's kind of just this cool outline I've been putting on these guys. And then there's actually one more thing that I'll show you after this. Or maybe two more things. I didn't know this video would be this long. Why isn't that working? Come on. Apple Pencil's acting up. Okay. So this was the entire process from start to finish of a token. From I had no idea what this would look like when we sat down, and yeah, I like it. What I'll do oftentimes is I'll add these kind of ancillary lines that kind of just add some sort of dynamic to the background. And then, yeah. So there's a token. Oh, let me get rid of that line there. There we go. So then I will export this. A couple of spots here that didn't come through. I'll export this and then bring it into the computer, and yeah, that's how I make a token. Thank you for watching.